All right, awesome. Well, why are we here today?
Well, we are here because, first of all, I'm here because I get to hang out with you for a little bit, which is always great. But we're also launching a brand new venture here for the Emerald Coast Medical Association, which, frankly, I think both you and I are very excited about because we've been planning this for nearly 2 years, and it's kind of finally coming to fruition. And that is to start the Emerald Coast Medical Association Medical Mastery Podcast. And for some reason, you chose me to be the first guest. Is that right?
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
We didn't just choose you to be the first guest. Mm-hmm. You are the host.
Yes, I have been given that unique responsibility, and I'm incredibly excited about that. This has been something that, we've been planning for a couple of years, but one of the things that I've noticed throughout my career is that I really like talking to people. Mm-hmm. I especially like talking to smart people, and I especially like hearing things that smart people say. And so to have this opportunity to interview other people that I think are smart is going to be just great for me. That's a very selfish aspect. But I also think hearing their thoughts about medicine, their training, their background, where we're going in the future, how we can take care of our community better, how do we train medical students better. All of these things are going to be incredibly interesting and incredibly important to our community. And so I'm given this unique and wonderful task to start to interview several of our membership to start talking about these things and kind of have a broader conversation that we think is going to be very interesting for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. And I think that my favorite part of what I do as the executive director for the Medical Association is when I watch physicians connect. When I see that spark, that connection, whether it's talking about medicine, talking about our community, but when they immediately start talking about, hey, I didn't realize you could do that, and I've got this patient, and can I call you tomorrow? What's your number, and how can I connect? I see a deeper love of caring and of community and of wanting to work together. And it's my favorite theme this year is what's your why?
Yes.
So that's really what I want to cover today to kick off this podcast and this mission.
Yes.
That we put together, our little brains kind of together made this happen. But what's the why?
Yes.
Why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you become a physician? Why do you want to do this? Why does the Medical Association exist? And why is it important that physicians know and communicate together? What's the why?
So there's a lot to cover there. First of all, I want to double click on something that you said there, which is there anything better than our board meetings where we get to interact and converse about these things, and you just hear so many wonderful ideas and insightful moments. There are a ton of benefits of being in the Emerald Coast Medical Association, just period, hard stop. Probably one of my favorites has been the connectivity with other physicians that I can just pick up the phone and call for personal medical issues. I mean, that has been so great to have issues with my family and pull up and say, hey, brother, could you help me out on this? Because I don't even know where to go. In some sense, going through medical school and residency and fellowship in some cases and all the healthcare training that we do, the major benefit is not necessarily to have a vocation in medicine, it's to be able to navigate the healthcare landscape. It's so difficult, it's so onerous, and many people don't know how to do that. You have to go through the PhD in medicine in order to be able to figure out how to do all these things. And part of that is that connection with other physicians that can help you to facilitate all those changes. So that's a great thing that we get out of just our healthcare training. Now, in terms of the why, this kind of all overlaps with itself, because why I became a physician in the first place is because I like helping people. I like helping people to get more meaning in their lives. And it's not what I think is meaningful for them. It's to empower them to get more meaning in their lives. That kind of led me in a circuitous route, both through medicine in general. I thought I was going to do family practice when I first started training, and then I was scared to do anything that would involve intensive care because I didn't think I had the chops for it. And it turns out as I went through it, I actually liked it. The higher pressure situations kind of made me feel a little bit more invigorated and like, oh man, you can actually make a difference in somebody pretty quickly. And that eventually kind of dovetailed with my kind of nerdy scientific self that really likes cardiac physiology and could use some basic principles to extrapolate a lot of different other things. But if you wanted to ask me why I really got into cardiology, it's because cardiovascular disease is going to kill most of us. And that is our foot in the door to try and help people. In other words, we're going to see a lot of people that are sick. And once you start to make them feel better, that starts the ball moving in a great direction towards getting them to empower themselves to get more meaning in their lives. So really, cardiovascular disease is my foot in the door towards empowering you to be able to do the things that you want. And it just so happens to be, one of our greatest scourges in terms of disease processes. There are many others, trust me, and many other physicians that are treating people in a wonderful way. But this is how kind of I think about these things. Mm-hmm. And then when you start to use a force multiplier like the Emerald Coast Medical Association and things like this podcast, where we can start to get this information out to more and more people, then we start to be able to carve medicine and healthcare in our community and the surrounding areas in a different way, in a better way, in a bigger way, and it just kind of snowballs in on itself. So the why of why I do this started off with the idea of every single person that I get to interact with, I want to make their lives better if I can. Mm-hmm. And now to be able to do that at a bigger scale, what else is there better in life?
That's awesome. So my mind is whirling with, we're all going to die of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, many of us, yes.
Many of us.
Yes.
Okay. So I have to go back to make this really useful podcast.
Yes.
What is the one thing that you would have each of us change in our lives right now in order to prevent cardiovascular disease?
Well, I am very glad that you asked that, because it is something that I say to virtually every single one of my patients every opportunity I get. And one word really encapsulates it: exercise.
Huh?
It does more for you than anything else, than any medication, than any sort of intervention, than stenting, than anything else. It is exercise. It's getting the body moving. It's doing things. This is what our bodies were meant to do. Sometimes some numbers really elucidate this point quite nicely. So for example, we all know that smoking is bad for us, right? Now, if you smoke, you increase your risk of dying by about 40 to 60%. That's a huge number. The risk of dying by not exercising increases by 300%.
Wow.
Now think about that for a second. So if you said the only way I'm going to exercise is if I get to smoke, it would still be in your benefit to do it. That's how effective this really is for us. And it really is just moving the body regularly.
Okay, good. That was the other thing I was going to ask. So define exercise.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? What does that look like for the average person, not the
average
athlete?
person? There's two different types of exercise, and they're both crucially important, okay? The first one is cardiovascular exercise. Now, cardiovascular exercise, you hear cardio. What does that really mean? Well, it almost doesn't matter the underlying thing as long as you're getting the body moving. So it could be running, it could be walking, it could be elliptical, it could be swimming, it could be biking, it could be any one of a number of things. Rowing is another one that's very good. The point is, it should feel a certain way to do it. Okay? Sometimes when you get a little bit deeper into this, you start to talk about rate of perceived exertion. It's kind of how it feels to do things, okay? It should feel like it's difficult, yet not impossible to carry on a conversation. That's the way it should feel. So if you're going to walk, and you can do any of those, it doesn't matter, as long as it feels like, oh man, it's kind of hard for me to converse about this. So it shouldn't be a dead-out sprint, and it shouldn't be a slow perambulation where you're looking at the trees and the birds. My wife says, walk like you're late for church.
Oh,
and
there you go.
that is the good way to think about it. So you're putting some oomph behind it. You want to do that 30 minutes a day, upwards of 6 days a week, if you're not including strength training, which I'll get to in 1 second, okay? That sounds like a lot. Okay. You need to make excuses to do it. There is no comparison. Think about you getting healthier, not from taking more medicines, not from doing procedures. In fact, many patients lose weight by doing this, but just doing something outside, active. That makes all the benefit in the world. Decreases your death by 300%. I mean, that's incredible in and of itself.
Seems like a no-brainer.
It should be, okay? But still, we have to incentivize our patients and encourage them sometimes. Now, the other half of the exercise pie there is strength training. Okay. We already talked about the number one killer, which is cardiovascular disease. Probably our number two killer is going to be cancer. And that's a harder animal to get our arms around, indeed. But third on that list is musculoskeletal wasting. Think of falling and breaking a hip. Now, you may have known some people that has happened to. This devastates us in our later life. And the numbers are really scary to think that most people with a hip fracture don't leave the hospital. So we want to prevent that. The way that you prevent that is you maintain your strength, maintain your muscle mass, maintain your mobility. So strength training is just as important as the cardio. And you want to think big muscle groups, big compound muscle groups, bench press, shoulder press, squats if your knees can handle it, deadlifts, those kind of things where you're hitting a lot of muscle groups together. Now that's 3 days a week that you want to be doing that. I just talked about 6 days a week that you need to be devoting to exercise. That sounds like a lot. You can't afford to not do it. So helpful. So that is my biggest bugaboo, because that keeps us all alive longer. It keeps us feeling better. But also think about this and how this dovetails with what we had talked about earlier. That empowers you to go on vacation and be active, to say yes to things. Yes, I'll climb that mountain. Yes, I'll go kayaking. Yes, I'll go on that Alaskan cruise and go out to the glacier. I will do things, and that creates more meaning in your life. Think about how meaningful it is to be able to pick up your grandchildren. That's something no medication will ever be able to replace. So getting patients to that point and having them do it themselves, oh man, that's just a great thing to do.
So within your practice, how difficult is it to convince people to take that preventative measure? I'm sure it's difficult for some people. They think of the time, the cost,
yes,
etc. What do you suggest? Just 3 tips.
Yes.
To incorporate it into your life, make it easy.
Great. First one, walking does just fine. You can walk. Doesn't cost a whole lot of money. You can do it outside. You can do it on a treadmill if you need to. It does get hot outside. You can find shade. There's ways you can do that. 30 minutes a day. That's great exercise for you. The other one is, as I had kind of alluded to before, set yourself up for success. Don't accept excuses. Make excuses to do this every single day, with a day of rest in there if you can. The point being there is that once you start to set that habit, once you get in probably about 3 months into it, it becomes you're going to do this no matter what. The other thing that's really great about this is that when you kind of talk about long-term benefits of this, believe it or not, one of the best ways, of course, to prevent cardiovascular disease and to help maintain your strength and your independence and all those things is exercise. But do you know that it also helps prevent dementia? What a better thing to try and sell to people because dementia is kind of losing ourselves. Yes, you can be debilitated from musculoskeletal wasting and not be able to stand up, and those things are terrible. But when you lose yourself, that's something that's terrible. But exercise helps to prevent that from happening. So I think those are pretty big selling points that I try and push for them. The tips are just go out there and start doing it. Just do it. Find excuses to do it. You can do it at day, you can do it at night. Start to set the time. You can't afford to not do it.
That's awesome. Those are they're doable, they're small bites, and that's a beautiful insight into you as a cardiologist in the room with your patient.
Yeah.
So one of our goals today is to get to know who is this guy that's going to host our podcast
Yes.
for years to come. So that's a clinical doctor view of you. Who are you personally? Where are you from? Tell us about your family.
Okay. I am from Shreveport, Louisiana. Which you may be surprised that somebody got out of there alive, but here I am. So I was surprised too. Where I did my undergraduate training at LSU in Baton Rouge, and I got my dad is a pilot. My mom worked for the phone company for a long period of time. My stepmom is very dear to our family. As a social worker and clinical sociologist, clinical psychologist, shall I say. I've got two brothers. I've got an older and a younger brother. My older brother owns his own. Yes,
we
I
got
know.
a middle child.
My older brother owns his own business, and my younger brother is working on becoming a pilot. So that's my home family in a nutshell. I went to LSU, where I got, and this is the science nerd in me. I got dual major and triple minor. My two majors are math and biochemistry, and all my minors are in scientific stuff because I was a real science nerd and really liked that quite a bit. Went on from there to medical school at LSU Health Sciences Center in Shreveport. And then afterwards did my residency at University of Florida. Interestingly enough, being an LSU lifelong fan, I was never a real big fan of University of Florida. And
I was going to say that.
It's odd. When my advisor, whom I really loved in medical school, Dr. Burney, who's a rheumatologist, he's just an incredible guy. I was looking at a lot of places like UT Houston. I had done an away rotation there. They had the Texas Heart Institute there, and I was hoping to go for cardiology at some point, and so that was really big on my goal. And I did the away rotation there, and I talked to 9 different residents, and 8 of them told me not to go there. And so I had to revamp my thinking kind of on the fly. So I came back, to my advisor and said, "Man, they said this." And he goes, "I told you wouldn't like it." And I was like, I don't know what to do. He goes, "Go interview at University of Florida." And I said, "I'm not going to University of Florida." And he said, "Go interview there. Trust me." I very reluctantly went to University of Florida for internal medicine residency interview and fell in love with it immediately. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing." Ranked it first, was lucky enough to get there. And then kind of my medical training took off. Got some exposure to intensive care and other things that I really enjoyed. Matriculated from there to Ochsner Clinic Foundation in New Orleans for cardiology fellowship.
Okay.
And then immediately after that followed my wife here back to Panama City, where we started our career about 10 plus years ago.
Well, that may be one of the smartest things you've ever
Oh
done.
man, tell me about it.
Is following that beautiful wife of yours.
Indeed,
here.
she's good. I like her.
Yeah, she's got her own, and you have a couple of beautiful daughters too.
We do now. We have Avery and Isla that are 9 and 7, and they are a handful and keep us entertained all the time. The
apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
One of them certainly tends towards their mom, and one of them a little bit more towards their dad. I won't say which one for the poor child that follows after me, but either way, they've been a real light in our lives. And so that's probably, if you wanted to focus down on the things that I think really make me me, my family is first and foremost. They're beautiful, they're amazing, they're smart, they're fun, and we just have a great time. It's a very great grounding mechanism for us to kind of say, this is what I need to prioritize on. This is where I need to focus on stuff. And then, my career has taken a little bit of a change, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. And so those kind of things keep you grounded. And when things aren't always going so bright, it's nice to come home and say, you know what? things are okay.
Well, you handle things with a lot of humor, which is part of what makes our board of directors meetings so fun, and our membership meetings.
Perhaps too much humor sometimes, I will tell you, but...
It's okay. We enjoy it. So what we all want to know, anybody who's heard you talk at length at all, understands your love of language, of big words, of unique words, of words that perhaps not everybody knows what they mean. So what we all have been dying to know is, where do you get your word list? Do you have an app? What's your program? Because I have a feeling it's just like exercise. You are looking for new words every single day. So tell us about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, you need to know I'm incredibly pretentious. Okay. So I want to sound smart. It's the imposter syndrome writ large here. I want people to think that I know what I'm talking about. Part of that is I do appreciate precision language. My grandmother was an English teacher, and she kind of inculcated into us this idea that you need to be precise about your language and use correct grammar and other things like that. I don't always do that very well. I'm not an aficionado on the Oxford comma by any means, but I do like to be specific and to kind of talk about things in perhaps a little different level. Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller says that if you're ever going to give a lecture to somebody, you should be entertaining, you should be funny, and you should teach them a new word. So anytime I'm going to be talking to a large audience, especially ours, of incredibly smart people at Emerald Coast, then sometimes I have to dig a little deeper to find things that I think are really good. I'll also try and, if I'm reading something and come across something that's really good, I'll say, oh, that's a good one. I have to tuck that one away. Last night, as a matter of fact, our daughters set us up a dinner table with their own menu and everything, which is really cute. And as my oldest, Avery, who's 9, was leaving, she said, "I'll leave you to peruse the menu." And I thought, yes, it's happening. So I, it's kind of a hobby horse. I like kind of to speak in these ways. And again, there's pretentiousness too.
Well, nothing wrong with that. We enjoy it.
Maybe there is, but
it's my entertainment.
Yeah,
anyway.
good. Well, I'll make sure to keep that up.
So, another thing that I have been just kind of thinking a little bit about is, obviously we started a podcast because podcasts have become incredibly consumable, I guess is the best way to say it, that it's easy. I find myself, it's a way I can drive and I can listen and I can learn and I can just become better. And I'm using it in every walk of my life now, personal, professional, etc. So that's my why of why I think this is so good, because I think it's going to be good for patients. It'll be good for physicians to get to know each other. And because we cover a 10-county area, we can't get in front of every physician and potential member and patient.
That's right.
You or I or any one of our members, we can't get in front of all of them, but this is a way to do that.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about the podcast you're listening to and what's your favorite.
Oh, man. Thank you for asking this. This is so great. I listen to podcasts all the time. I've really grown accustomed to liking the All In podcast is one that's kind of a bunch of tech bros that talk together that about politics and tech and other things. That's kind of interesting. My newest favorite one, my newest obsession is called Moonshots, and it's a MIT-based trio or quadro of people that talk about many things tech. They're huge into AI and talking about how that's going to revolutionize our lives. And these are some of the most insightful people that just talk about these things on such a high level. And it's really, really great to hear. For the math nerd in me, it's great to hear things like derivatives and other mathematical terms that come out of that. But they talk on a really high level about something that's really, really interesting. And I'm really glad you brought that around because, you can listen to this on your schedule. You can listen to it at 2x speed if you want to. You can say, oh man, that was something that was really interesting.
I didn't know I would enjoy that, by the way. I love listening to it at a faster speed now.
Yes. I'm at 1.25 myself. That's a constant.
I like it. I feel like that's really helped my brain.
So it creates some efficiency in there. For me, it also helps me to try and talk and think faster if I need to. I can
agree.
sometimes Southern drawl myself out a little bit, so that kind of helps me to think on a little bit different level. But what an ability for you to get to know more of our membership. But also, we're going to be interviewing lots of different subspecialists that that operate in various different auspices, whether that be from a hospital perspective, that are in private practice, that are some sort of hybrid model, and we're going to be able to get their insights in what they do. When my daughter had some eye problems, I had to call Jeff Pine and say, hey, what do I do about this? In other words, I don't know the first thing about ophthalmology. And I needed somebody that knew something that could say, oh, what you were worried about was not any. I mean, he could talk me off the ledge about those kind of things. And I think having that kind of insight and just being able to talk about, we're going to be able to talk to cancer specialists. We're going to be talking to surgeons, cardiothoracic, GI surgeons. We're going to talk to psychiatrists. We're going to talk to dermatologists. We're going to get this entire realm of specialists that to them, they're doing everyday medicine. To us, it's going to sound amazing, which is also what we experience whenever we do our CME retreat at the end of the year.
Yes.
You get to hear these people say things and you're like, are you really doing that? That sounds like science fiction, and it's
doing
here,
that
and you're doing
that's
it for
what's
our
amazing.
community members, and it's really wonderful to see these people operating at a high level, not just talking smartly about things, but actually doing things for our community that they're kind of aw shucks about it. But to us, it sounds like, wow, that's incredible that this thing can happen. So I'm very excited about this.
It sounds like our challenge is to make this usable for the average patient, the average person out there trying to learn or improve their health, and then to also make it very usable for our physician members, where they realize there is this new technology. We'll let you get nerdy, a little bit nerdy, and do your science stuff and talk about that, because I love to hear that too. I want to know how things work.
Yes.
And I think that we don't give the average person enough credit that sometimes they do need to understand at a pretty high level how their body works, what this medicine is, what this procedure is. So I think my goal is to keep you honest about, we want the perfect combination of science nerdy and usable practical tools.
Yes.
And that, I think, will create medical mastery on the Emerald Coast.
Indeed. Well, what a perspicacious insight that you have there about how patients really enjoy knowing how things work.
And have a right to.
Exactly. I found that I have a lot of joy of trying to explain how some of these things work. And I can actually talk at a decently high level to the vast majority of my patients, and they understand. And they start to feel, oh man, it makes sense what you're saying to do right now. And I can also say, here's what we would anticipate happening with this medication or this intervention of some type. But if you feel X, Y, or Z, well, that may mean we need to change course here. We're always reserved the right to be wrong. I say all the time, just ask my wife, I'll be wrong again. She'll let you know. But the point being is that patients like to have this kind of conversation. And I think you're exactly spot on. We can assume a little bit more insightful tone, and I think they can get on this. And so we will talk a little bit of nerdy stuff, and kind of, I think you'll get to see how doctors interact with each other when we're on vacation together, when we're out at Shell Island together, when we are having dinner together.
Good.
Kind of the way that we talk, but also I think people will be able to keep up. We'll
The
keep it at different
inside
levels.
scoop.
Oh, we'll get some inside scoop, of course.
And maybe I need to buy a whiteboard.
Yes.
And you'll be drawing out equations.
Be careful. We can come up with this. Okay, we can start to talk about all different kinds of things. Don't get me started on topology. Okay, we can have a topology lecture here. That would be great. And
All right.
you'll have one less listener with my wife tuning out. But either way, it's totally worth it.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I hope we can grow this, serve a purpose and a bigger need in this area. Is there anything else you want to kick this off with?
I am very excited about this, to say the least. I had, quick story, in fellowship, it's a second-year fellow, and we were doing clinic at some point, and I had an attending who came to me and said, you should really be on like late night or something like that. And I said, that means that I'm a really terrible cardiologist, right? You're saying you should be doing something else as opposed to this. But this, I think, really fits a lot of strong suits here of just being able to talk with people, being able to get some information out. I certainly hope we grow this listenership, but 50% of this is totally selfish. I just love this idea of having the time to sit and talk with people and kind of make our goals a little bit more manifest for how we want to make our community better. And I mean, how long have you been sacrificing yourself to make our community better?
Well, it's 16 years.
16 years
that I have been here, and we've seen a lot of growth in that time. A lot of change, a lot of growth.
A lot of change, a lot of growth. But we've also been through some major tragedies.
Yes.
Where our community has been hit hard. Various different tragedies, including major natural disasters, of course, we all know. But throughout all of that, the Emerald Coast Medical Association stayed strong, helped people get to where they need to get. And we're going to be able to hear some of those stories about some of the physicians that were here during that time, physicians that have moved into this area, and how we're trying to take care of the community, how we took care of the community then, how we're trying to take care of the community here and continuing to grow. And that's really what we're here to do. We're here to take care of each other. Nobody else is going to do it. It's us taking care of us. And I want us to be the best that we can.
I agree. Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Oh, you're not nearly as much as I am. I am incredibly looking forward to this. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much for trusting me with this gig of talking to other physicians. I promise I will try and keep it to where the jokes are not too much, okay? That's the best that I can offer for right now.
We don't need a joke monitor
No,
yet.
No. We're not going to do that. Not yet. Maybe in the future. But
well, thank you, Donnie.
Looking
really
forward to this adventure, and for hopefully the foreseeable future, we continue doing this, producing this, having guests that you guys want to see, hear from. And
let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Who do you want to hear from?
And hopefully you'll gain some medical mastery.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.